Most people waste their energy trying to prove they're winning instead of actually winning. They want applause before they've even taken the first step. They tell everyone their plans, expecting validation to somehow turn into results. It never does. If you want to win, you've got to disappear. You've got to go so deep into the work that no one even knows what you're building until it's too late for them to catch up. Stop talking about your plans. Start executing them. Most people fall in love with the sound of their own voice when they speak about what they're going to do. They want to impress friends, family, and strangers with promises of big things to come. But here's the truth. Talking is easy. It's free. It costs you nothing to say, I'm going to start a business, or I'm going to get in shape. That's why so many people do it. And that's exactly why it's worthless without action behind it. Every moment you spend telling someone what you're planning to do is a moment you could be building the thing you're talking about. When you say it out loud, you get a tiny hit of validation, a fake feeling of accomplishment. Your brain mistakes approval for progress, and suddenly the urgency to act disappears. You feel like you've already moved forward when in reality you haven't even taken the first step. The people who truly get ahead are too busy working to talk about what they're doing. They're not looking for applause, they're looking for results. They don't care if anyone knows what's happening behind the scenes because they know the work will speak louder than any announcement. They aren't chasing recognition. They're building leverage quietly, consistently, without broadcasting their every move. Execution is where dreams become reality. Talking about a goal without taking action is like reading the recipe but never cooking the meal. You can describe the flavor all you want, but you'll never taste it until you start doing the work. And the work is messy, uncomfortable, and often invisible. No one claps for you when you're grinding alone at 2 a.m., but that's exactly where the transformation happens. When you stop talking and start executing, you shift from seeking approval to creating proof. Instead of saying, I will, you start showing I did. Proof doesn't need defending. Proof doesn't need convincing. Proof stands on its own, undeniable, and loud enough for anyone to hear without you saying a single word. The work becomes your voice, and it's a voice no one can argue with. The more you execute, the less you'll feel the urge to explain yourself. You'll stop caring if people understand your path because your results will make it impossible to ignore. You'll find that you no longer need to waste time persuading anyone to believe in you. They'll believe when they see. And they will see because results are visible in ways that words never can be. Talking about what you're going to do can make you feel good for a moment, but executing will make you feel unstoppable for a lifetime. Execution builds momentum. Momentum builds confidence. And confidence builds a reality that's so solid it doesn't need to be advertised. You'll start to realize that every hour you once spent in conversation is worth far more when invested in creation. The gap between talking and executing is the gap between average and exceptional. Anyone can say they're going to do something. Few will actually do it. The ones who do are the ones who win. And they win because they're focused on building, not on broadcasting. When you choose to execute instead of talk, you separate yourself from the noise. You stop being just another voice making promises and start becoming the quiet force that delivers results. And in the end, the quiet force is the one that changes the game. Silence is not weakness. It's a weapon that protects your vision. In a world where everyone feels the need to broadcast their every move, keeping quiet becomes a rare and powerful strategy. When you share too much, you invite opinions, doubts, and unnecessary noise into your process. And most people's opinions have nothing to do with helping you win. They have everything to do with their own limitations. Silence removes that interference. It allows you to move forward without the weight of other people's fears pressing against your ambition. When you keep your plans to yourself, you take back control of your focus. You're no longer working to impress or convince anyone. You're working to build something that doesn't need approval. That kind of focus is pure. It's uninterrupted. It's what separates those who finish from those who stop halfway because someone planted a seed of doubt in their mind. Every conversation about your goals is an opportunity for distraction. Every distraction is a delay. Silence cuts them all off before they can start. People misunderstand silence. They think if you're not talking about your work, you're not doing anything worth talking about. They assume that loud is strong and quiet is weak. But strength isn't in how much noise you make. It's in how much you can produce without making any noise at all. The most dangerous people in any field are the ones you don't see coming. They aren't advertising their next move. They're preparing it in the dark, where no one can interfere. Silence keeps your vision clean. Every time you let someone into your head, you give them a chance to change the picture. They may not mean to, but their words, doubts, and even subtle discouragements can blur your clarity. When you hold your vision close and protect it, it stays yours. It stays as sharp as the day you imagined it, untouched by the insecurities of people who couldn't build what you're building even if they tried. There's a discipline to staying silent. It takes restraint to not tell people about the exciting things you're planning. It feels good to share because it feels like progress, but that feeling is a trap. Real progress is measured in output, not in updates. The discipline of silence forces you to channel that energy into creation, into building something that's undeniable when it's revealed. Silence also builds an element of surprise. When you finally show the world what you've been working on, the impact hits harder because no one saw it coming. There's no slow buildup, no chance for people to prepare their excuses or dismissals. You drop results so heavy, they demand attention. That shock is only possible when you've kept your process hidden. In silence, you learn to value the process more than the recognition. You stop chasing external validation and start living for the satisfaction of knowing you're doing the work. You don't need the applause to know you're on the right track. The progress you see in your own life is the only confirmation you need. That self-validation is stronger than anything someone else could give you. Silence is a form of power. It's control over your environment, over your energy, over the access people have to your mind. It's the shield that guards your vision until it's ready to stand on its own. And when you finally step forward, there's no doubt, no noise, and no weakness, only proof. Every second you spend explaining your goals is time stolen from achieving them. People waste hours trying to convince others that what they're aiming for is worthwhile. They defend their vision to people who were never going to support it in the first place. Every explanation is a drain, not just of time, but of energy, focus, and momentum. The more you talk about what you're going to do, the less urgency you feel to actually do it. Words are comfortable. Action is uncomfortable. And that's why most stay stuck in conversations instead of crossing finish lines. When you're caught in the cycle of explaining, you give away pieces of your drive, you hand over your vision for other people to analyze, question, and judge. That process slows you down. Instead of moving forward, you start second-guessing yourself, not because the plan is wrong, but because someone else's doubt has taken root in your mind. It's easy to underestimate how much even a small comment can derail your confidence if you're not careful about who you share with. The more you explain, the more you expose yourself to noise. Noise is the enemy of execution. It blurs your clarity and makes every step feel heavier. You don't owe anyone a breakdown of how you're going to succeed. Your only responsibility is to yourself, to show up, do the work, and build the result. Everything else is a distraction dressed as conversation. The time you spend trying to make someone believe in you could be the time that makes the difference in hitting your target. In high-performance environments, winners don't talk about what they're going to do. They just do it. They don't feel the need to make people understand their process because they know the process will be validated by the outcome. The scoreboard erases all doubt. Results kill all arguments. Until you have those results, your best move is to keep your head down and work. Explaining can also become a form of procrastination. It gives you the illusion of progress without the reality of it. You feel like you're doing something because you're thinking and talking about the goal, but nothing tangible is being created. That's how people spend years working on something without ever producing a single result. It's not because they couldn't do it. It's because they spent more time in conversation than in execution. Your time is your most valuable resource, and you can't afford to spend it convincing people who don't matter. The people who are meant to believe in you will see it when you show them. The ones who never believed will never change their mind, no matter how much you explain. That's why the smartest move is to stop trying to prove yourself and start producing results that can't be ignored. Every moment you reclaim from explaining is a moment you can invest into execution. That's where the gap between average and exceptional gets created. It's not built on bigger dreams or better ideas. It's built on disciplined, uninterrupted work. The more space you create for that work, the faster you'll move and the less you'll need anyone else's approval. When you stop explaining, you stop giving people the chance to talk you out of your potential. You start building in a space where the only feedback that matters comes from reality itself, the outcome you create. And reality always rewards action over words. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. It's the ability to hold back what everyone else is desperate to share. In a culture where constant updates are the norm, silence sets you apart. It creates a gap between you and the noise, a gap where focus thrives. It allows you to channel every ounce of your energy into building rather than broadcasting. People might underestimate you when you're quiet, and that's exactly the advantage you want. They can't compete with a move they can't see coming. When you operate in silence, you move without the weight of other people's opinions dragging behind you. You're not pausing to answer questions, justify decisions, or defend your ideas. That time and energy stay with you, feeding your momentum instead of draining it. In silence, there are no interruptions, no detours, and no unnecessary delays, only pure execution. Strategy is about controlling variables, and the more you share, the more variables you create. Every person you tell is another opinion in the mix, another potential obstacle in your head. Silence eliminates those variables. It keeps the path straight. It ensures that the only person influencing your direction is you. Silence also keeps your vision intact. Ideas are fragile in their early stages. Before they're strong enough to withstand criticism, they need space to grow. Talking about them too soon exposes them to doubt and negativity, which can weaken your belief before you've even begun. When you keep those ideas to yourself, you give them time to develop into something unshakable. Quiet work doesn't just protect your ideas, it amplifies their impact when they're revealed. If people are watching your every step, they'll get used to your progress and undervalue it. But if they see nothing for months or years, then suddenly face the finished result, it forces their attention. The surprise is part of the power. The reveal becomes impossible to ignore because it wasn't expected. The loudest person in the room often draws the most attention, but attention without results is just noise. The quiet one, the one who says nothing but delivers everything, holds the real influence. Their words carry more weight because they're backed by proof, not promises. That's the kind of presence that lasts longer than any speech or self-promotion. Staying silent forces you to measure progress differently. You're no longer chasing likes, comments, or applause. You're tracking actual milestones. The satisfaction comes from tangible wins, deals closed, projects finished, skills mastered. Those metrics are far more valuable than any external approval because they can't be faked. Silence is a deliberate choice to value results over recognition, substance over show. It's the decision to play the long game, to let your work speak in a language far more powerful than words. It's not about hiding forever. It's about staying quiet long enough for your success to speak so loudly that no one can ignore it. Focusing on yourself is not selfish, it's survival. When you spend your energy worrying about what others are doing, you divide your strength. Every moment you compare your progress to theirs is a moment you're not building your own. The truth is, the fastest way to slow down your growth is to keep looking sideways. The people you're watching aren't the ones responsible for your future, you are. Your results will never come from keeping score on someone else's game. When you turn your attention inward, you see what actually needs to be fixed, improved, and strengthened. You stop blaming circumstances and start building capability. You start to recognize patterns in your own behavior that either push you forward or pull you back. That awareness is power. You can't change what you refuse to see, and you can't grow if all you see is someone else's path. Self-focus creates clarity. You know what matters to you, and you stop chasing what looks good on someone else. It's easy to be distracted by trends, quick wins, and flashy success stories, but most of those aren't built to last. When you're focused on yourself, you filter all that out and commit to the work that will actually take you where you want to go. You stop copying and start creating. The discipline to stay silent while you focus is equally important. Talking about your goals gives you a temporary high. It feels like progress, but it's not. The more you talk, the more you waste energy that could be spent executing. Silence forces you to prove your intentions through action. It's easy to say what you'll do. It's much harder to build something that speaks for itself. Silence also keeps you unpredictable. When people don't know your moves, they can't interfere with them. They can't prepare for them, sabotage them, or compete with them in advance. You gain the element of surprise, and that advantage is priceless. Most people lose momentum because they're too busy announcing their plans instead of protecting them. By focusing on yourself and staying silent, you remove unnecessary resistance. You're no longer fighting the opinions, doubts, and insecurities of others on top of your own. You're no longer slowed by the need for approval. The only person you answer to is the one in the mirror, and that keeps your progress pure. This approach also builds a deeper sense of confidence. When you win without broadcasting your every move, you realize you don't need applause to validate your progress. You don't need to be seen to be successful. The wins feel different because they belong to you entirely. Not shared, not diluted, not dependent on anyone else's recognition. In the end, focusing on yourself and staying silent is the combination that builds momentum others can't see coming. By the time they notice, it's too late, the work is done, the results are in, and the noise you didn't make is replaced by the noise of your success. Most people waste their energy trying to be noticed instead of trying to be valuable. They chase attention because it feels like progress, but attention without achievement is empty. The real wins are made when no one is watching, in the hours where discipline beats desire and consistency crushes motivation. If you truly want to change your life, you have to be willing to disappear for a while and work where the spotlight can't reach you. Staying silent isn't about hiding. It's about protecting your energy from being scattered in 100 directions. Every conversation about what you're going to do steals time from actually doing it. Every explanation invites opinions, doubts, and distractions that slow you down. The fewer people who know your moves, the cleaner your path becomes. Silence keeps you in control of the narrative because there's nothing for others to twist or question. When you focus entirely on yourself, you stop measuring success by the applause of others. You begin to measure it by growth, by progress, by the distance between who you were and who you are becoming. That's when you start making decisions that serve your long-term vision instead of your short-term ego. You realize the only scoreboard that matters is the one you keep for yourself. Working in silence builds an edge most people don't have, the ability to keep moving forward without needing external motivation. It forces you to rely on discipline instead of encouragement. When you stop expecting others to push you, you start pushing yourself harder than anyone else ever could. That's when you begin to operate at a level most people will never reach. There's power in being underestimated. When no one sees you coming, they don't prepare for your arrival. They don't compete with you because they think you're standing still, and by the time they notice your progress, you've already passed them. This quiet, relentless approach turns the element of surprise into one of your greatest advantages. Every step you take in silence is a seed planted for the future. You're building foundations that no one knows about, crafting skills that no one sees, and stacking wins that no one can take away from you. This kind of growth is deeper, stronger, and far more difficult to disrupt because it was created without the noise of external validation. People will always have opinions about what you should do, but those opinions mean nothing if they're not paying the price for your decisions. When you focus on yourself, you stop outsourcing your choices to people who don't share your vision or your sacrifices. You own your path fully, and that ownership fuels a different level of commitment. Silence and self, focused together, create a momentum that's impossible to fake. It's the kind of momentum that turns into results so undeniable that you never have to explain yourself again, because the proof is right there in front of everyone who once doubted you. Stacking wins privately is one of the most powerful ways to build an unshakable life. Every win you achieve in silence adds to your confidence, your credibility, and your ability to execute without relying on anyone else's validation. When you stack wins in private, you're not looking for applause or recognition. You're building a record of proof for yourself, not for the crowd. That proof becomes your fuel. You know you're moving forward even if no one else can see it yet. The problem with broadcasting every step is that it invites distraction. Once you announce a goal, people will have opinions, doubts, or even envy that can cloud your focus. Some will try to discourage you, others will compete with you. But when you work quietly, none of that can reach you. You're free to build without interference, to make mistakes without an audience, and to course correct without having to explain yourself to anyone. Private wins have a compound effect. One win gives you the confidence to go after the next, and the momentum builds faster because you're not pausing to tell the world about it. You're moving from achievement to achievement without losing time or energy. That rhythm of execution becomes a habit, and habits are what separate those who dream from those who actually achieve. Silence also protects the integrity of your work. When you create without the influence of outside voices, your results are pure reflections of your effort, not diluted by what others think you should do. You're not chasing trends or approval, you're staying true to your vision and your standards. Over time, this authenticity sets you apart in a world where most people are copying each other. Working in private also strengthens your resilience. Because no one is constantly watching, you can fail, adjust, and try again without fear of judgment. This freedom to experiment without the weight of expectation accelerates your growth. You're learning faster because you're not afraid to make moves that might not work, knowing that failure is just another step in the process. Stacking private wins teaches you patience. You stop expecting overnight results and start appreciating the long game. You understand that greatness is built brick by brick, not announced in a single moment. The quiet grind is where real progress happens, where you turn potential into skill and skill into undeniable success. There's a different kind of power in revealing your results only when they're undeniable. When people finally see what you've been working on, it hits harder because they never saw it coming. The surprise forces them to pay attention, and the impact is magnified because it's backed by a track record they never knew existed. The greatest statement you can make is not with your words, but with your results. When your success speaks for you, it carries a weight that no explanation, promise, or declaration ever could. Success has a way of speaking that no amount of bragging can match. When you achieve something real, the results radiate on their own. People notice without you having to demand their attention. They feel the weight of your accomplishments because they're undeniable. You don't have to convince anyone. You simply let the work you've done stand in the room and speak louder than anything you could say. That's the kind of success that carries authority. The problem with talking too soon is that words are cheap. Anyone can promise, predict, or proclaim what they're going to do. That doesn't cost anything. But actually putting in the time, the sweat, and the effort to deliver results, that's rare. When you let success be the noise, you separate yourself from the countless people who talk big but never execute. You stop being part of the noise and become the signal people pay attention to. Real success is magnetic. It draws people in without you having to chase them. Opportunities find you because results are the best advertisement in the world. While others are spending their energy convincing people to believe in them, you're using yours to produce outcomes that leave no room for doubt. Those outcomes make the strongest case for your credibility, your skill, and your value. When your achievements speak, they command respect in a way that words never can. Respect earned through action is harder to challenge, harder to dismiss, and harder to forget. People can argue with your opinions, but they can't argue with your results. They can try to ignore you, but they can't ignore the proof that you've already delivered. That proof becomes your reputation, and reputations built on results are unshakable. Letting success make the noise also creates longevity. The hype around words fades quickly, but the impact of real accomplishments lasts. When you've built something substantial, it continues to speak for you long after the initial moment has passed. The results become part of your legacy, echoing in rooms you haven't even entered yet. That's the reach real success has. It travels farther than your voice ever could. This approach demands patience and discipline. You have to be willing to hold back from announcing every move to resist the temptation of instant validation. You focus on doing the work, even when no one is applauding, because you understand that the applause that comes later will be 10 times louder and 100 times more meaningful. It's delayed gratification at its highest level. When you live this way, you stop worrying about proving yourself to anyone. You're not chasing recognition. You're creating inevitability. You know that if you keep showing up, keep executing, and keep delivering, the results will eventually become too big to be ignored. That's the quiet confidence that separates those who truly succeed from those who only look like they're succeeding. The noise of success isn't chaotic. It's a steady, undeniable hum that follows you everywhere. It's in the way people speak your name when you're not around, in the doors that open without you asking, in the respect that comes unprompted. It's the sound of proof, and it's the only noise worth making. At the end of the day, it's not about how loudly you can talk about your dreams. It's about how relentlessly you can work on them when no one's watching. The world doesn't remember the noise, it remembers the results. So lock in, stay silent, and keep building until the only thing left to say is nothing at all, because your success has already said it for you.